The kisses lasted slowly but deeply, becoming a language of two hearts that did not need words. I felt her every breath, every small movement, as if it was blending with mine. In this moment, all the distance between us disappeared, leaving only the subtle connection between two souls, a harmony and bond that was difficult to describe in words. Hello everyone, welcome to our channel, where we will bring you the most interesting and dramatic stories in life. It will take the audience from one surprise to another. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any episodes. In today's video, we will bring to you the story, With My Colleague, through Jane's voice. Please watch. I still remember those days clearly. The first day of school in my senior year, I met Mrs. Ella, my literature teacher, who was also my homeroom teacher. In this high school, not only me but every boy had to admire her beauty. Even the teachers of other subjects were no exception. She was the school beauty, with a well-proportioned figure, a very cute smile and a sweet, soft voice that always attracted the other person. In the first meeting, I planned to study Block A, but unfortunately I ended up in the literature class. I was the best student in that class in literature, so she paid a lot of attention to me, even though the subject she taught was the subject that everyone in the class hated the most. At the age of adolescence, the age when I started to be curious about girls, she was the person I felt most interested in, although I didn't know exactly what it was, but I still had a strange illusion every time I met her. Then time passed, and looking back, it had been 15 years since I graduated. I was still the one who visited her the most every time I went back to my hometown for summer vacation. She loved me very much, even her daughter loved me. When I visited her, I often secretly looked at her in a subtle way. I don't know if she knew my thoughts and dreams. She became more and more beautiful, more attractive and more successful than before. Now she is the head of the department. Around this time, 5 years ago, her daughter took the university entrance exam. She had contacted me in advance to ask for a place to stay while she went to the city to take the exam. I was so enthusiastic that she and the child stayed at my house during those days. To add, my family was not well off, but after 5 years of working for a foreign company, we saved up some money and borrowed enough from our parents to buy an apartment in Tulim district, so we had something to live in and didn't have to worry about monthly rent. She went to the market with me to cook, drink coffee, and go for a walk to give the child some time to review her lessons. And that was the time when I was very excited, even though she was more than 10 years older than me. On the days when her child went to take the exam, I took her to the exam and then went home with her. We sat and lay in the room chatting, feeling very close and affectionate. I felt like I wanted to cross the line, but I didn't dare and didn't know what to do. I was afraid of her dignity, afraid of losing someone I always loved. She was still the same, still a beautiful but very noble woman. She said that she and I were very compatible. It seemed like I understood everything she thought. It was rare to find a soulmate like me. The day the child finished the A block exam, she and the child went to stay at her friend's house in Dong'an. She texted me, "Thank you for the past few days, and I don't know how to repay you." I don't know why, but at that time I texted back, "Can I have anything I want?" I still remember her texting back, "I can have anything I want as long as it's within my ability." So I immediately texted back, "I want to date you tonight." My heart was pounding. About 5 minutes later, she texted me back, "A child trying to date an adult." Then, for some reason, she agreed to go with me. I was overwhelmed with joy, excitement, and fear. I had prepared to pick her up for a walk last night, and at 7 p.m. I went over and took her. I had prepared myself in advance, so I took her to a small coffee shop nearby. There was a place for couples and a place for large groups to sit and drink. There had to be a way forward and a way back, so I was always careful. I was afraid that if I did something too much, she would get angry and yell, and things would be much worse. And then I stepped into the double seat reserved for couples, with a gently flowing river in front of me, the space quite poetic. She whispered to me, "You're so brave." Then the two of us lay on the seat, chatting, recalling old stories, beautiful memories from our school days. Then I mustered up all my courage and took her hand. Suddenly she shivered slightly and pulled her hand away, but I still held it tightly, looking out at the riverbank because I didn't dare look at her. She whispered, "You agreed to go on a date." Perhaps she kept her promise, so she gently lay still. I gently hugged her so she leaned on my arm. Happiness flooded back, and also the surprise beyond my imagination. The former homeroom teacher was lying next to me like a couple on a date. At this moment, she was more radiant and more attractive than before. Thinking about random things made my male instincts begin to rise. I tried to suppress my will for a moment. Perhaps the fact that she rested her head on my arm made me excited, so my will was controlled by my emotions. Well, I had to focus on chatting to calm down my emotions, but I accidentally discovered her gaze passing below me. Although it was just a fleeting glance like electricity, it seemed to add strength. The desire was making noise. God had punished me. It was the first time we had a date, and something like this happened. The coffee date ended. She had to go to her friend's house to do some work. I had no choice but to get in my car and drive home. Time seemed to stop as her image and smile kept appearing. I drove but felt aimless, not interested in anything but her, not wanting to go home, just wandering around, wondering if I loved her. What was this feeling? Why was it for a woman who already had a stable family? Dozens of questions arose, but there were no satisfactory answers. My heart was in turmoil. This undefined feeling made me feel like a soulless person, wishing for something that I knew would never come. It was so empty and deadlocked. Today is Saturday. I planned not to go back to my hometown because I was not in the mood. I just wanted to stay here as if I wanted to escape from life. But suddenly I remembered that today is the wedding of my high school friend. So I got up, had a cup of morning coffee, and drove back to my hometown. The sky is clear and cool today. The white clouds in the sky spread out like the jumbled thoughts in my heart right now. This morning's coffee seemed bland, not bitter nor sweet. The white smoke from the cigarette floated aimlessly. Looking at the stream of people running back and forth in front of me, I looked like someone who had just lost a football bet or a lottery. This was the first time in my life that I had to experience this strange feeling. After that coffee date, all I knew was her image in my mind. Her gentle, charming beauty seemed to occupy my mind. Maybe I idolized her. What would happen next? That feeling seemed to grow inside me. By the afternoon, the wedding was over after a tearful farewell with a few cases of beer. I was a construction worker and drank quite a bit, so I was still sober. I intended to go back to the city, but then I thought of her, wanted to see her, so I stopped, pretending that the incident from the day before had not happened. My house and her house are only about 2 kilometers apart, across the bridge into town, about 5 minutes' drive to her house. My house down here is a spacious 2-story house. My parents and grandparents live together. While her house is a ground-floor house, but is more modern and beautiful than mine, it was built by her and her husband on the land that the family gave them. I have to talk about her husband. I heard her say that they were each other's first love in high school. They were in the same class, went to university together, went to work together, and then got married. Her husband is also a construction engineer. He goes to the construction site all the time and rarely comes home. I've arrived at her house, but what now? What to do next? It would be too rude to barge in like that with an educated guy like me. I still felt awkward with her after the coffee date, so I planned to continue the game. The next idea was to wait for her to appear in front of the house and pretend to run past. I sat waiting for more than half an hour without seeing her come out. There was a slight boredom here. Then God did not disappoint those who were patient. There she was walking out, carrying a plastic bag in her hand. It seemed like she was taking out the trash. I started the engine and waited for the right moment. As soon as she opened the gate, I drove over. When I got closer, I pretended to be surprised. "Oh, hello. Where are you going? To visit her?" I was looking for some random things to buy, but couldn't find any place that sells them. I happened to pass by here and met you. I guess it's because I don't live here often, so I don't know the way. I wasted gas going around all this time without finding you. Well, since I'm here, I'll come over to your house. Your husband is at a construction site in Haiphong now, and I don't visit much at the guest house. I'll just come over for a bit and then go home. I was looking forward to this sentence so much. Leading the bike into her spacious yard, the green trees in the yard were lush and had many beautiful bonsai-style pots, different from the last time I visited. The plants are so beautiful at home. Yes, your husband takes care of them. He loves plants. When he came back from vacation, he changed the pots and trimmed them, but when I was at home, I didn't take care of them much. She was wearing spandex, a black t-shirt that hugged her body very nicely. She was wearing short spandex pants that revealed her white legs. Following behind, I was mesmerized. Her figure was so tall and curvaceous like a photo model, I wanted to pat her so much. The two of us sat down at the living room table. She sat opposite and poured me some water. At home, she didn't wear a bra, so I could guess that her breasts were also full, probably very firm and fit my hand. My crazy thoughts stopped until she opened up to talk. She was so beautiful and charming. Suddenly the pattering sound of raindrops outside broke the vague thoughts going on in my head. She leaned out to close the window, pressing her face close to mine, making me feel extremely excited. She finished closing the window. She sat down and chatted with me. "Why don't you stay here and eat with me? It's late. Today is the weekend. Little Sophia is busy volunteering to donate blood at school, so she can't come back. Eating alone is boring." "Yes, please, bother me a bit," I replied with a smile. I'll stir-fry some more vegetables and it'll be done. You just sit and relax. I'll go to the kitchen to finish." Sitting around was boring. I went into the kitchen to help her pick vegetables. While picking, I secretly looked at her chest, feeling uneasy. She sat opposite, so it was easier for me to observe. I had to restrain myself to calm down in this situation. I helped her wash the vegetables and then served the rice. I must say that was the best lunch of my life, eating with the person I secretly loved. So happy. After eating and drinking, I sat down with her for a while and said goodbye to her. Seeing that she seemed sleepy, I didn't stay any longer. Today was already a satisfying day. I took my bike home in excitement because the development was so unexpected. She had forgotten about the previous day, which also made me feel less awkward. The weekend had passed. I returned to the city with her figure. Her face made my heart flutter. Could it be that I loved her? I couldn't clearly define that feeling. I only knew that I wanted to be closer to her, wanted to see her. But how could I see her? She and I have been texting more often since she came back from the city. We chatted about her work, mine, and all sorts of things in life. But there was just no reason to see her anymore. There had to be a good reason. Everything always has a reason. And now I had to think of a reason. Oh, reasons and reasons. Oh, I see, today is my birthday, a reason. A coincidence that I was happy as if I had found gold in a situation where I couldn't think of a more suitable reason. But thinking back, what does my birthday have to do with her? but never mind, there was no other reason. Picked up the phone and texted, "Miss." I sent the text, my heart pounding, an indescribable feeling of anticipation. 15 minutes later she replied, "What? Is something wrong? Have you gone to the market yet? I was busy with the subject I just finished this morning, so I didn't go." "Then don't go. I have something to do near the market so I can buy some things to cook for you, okay? It's my birthday and I have no one to celebrate with, no friends." "No need to bother, I can take care of myself. I just want to cook for you to thank you for the meal last time, and it's my birthday and I'm sad eating out alone. I want to cook a meal." Okay. She put the rice cooker on at home first, pretending to hang up. After racking my brains to come up with a reason, I drove to the market to buy some things to cook hot pot, and then rushed home. My heart was filled with excitement. When I got there, I saw her sweeping the yard. So fast, boys are always quick and neat. She and I gathered to handle the food. I was the main chef today. My cooking skills weren't too bad, because I used to cook a lot when I was a student. She ate and praised the food, which pleased me. "Where's your husband? Why don't I see him?" "He works in Haiphong. I heard he just started a new project there. He only comes home once a week." "So you're bored at home, huh?" "I'm used to it. Things seem tense these days, so he doesn't come home often. He has to be on duty at the construction site all the time. And Sophia is now a first-year student. She has a lot of homework, so she only comes home every 2 weeks." "Yes, she's a first-year student, so there are still many things she's not familiar with, much different from when she was in high school," I said, feeling excited inside. After eating, she and I sat down to watch TV. I must have eaten too much hot pot, because I had to pee so much. "Where is the restroom?" "You can go downstairs and turn left." I rushed in to relieve the pressure in my body, looked around the restroom to see if there were any of her things, only saw some dirty pants and shirts hanging on the wall. I went closer to take a look and saw a pair of panties inside a pair of jean shorts. I gently took them out and held them in my hand. It felt so good, I brought them up to my nose and sniffed right at the crotch. My little brother below me moved. The dreamy moment didn't last long because I was afraid she would suspect me. So I took a picture of the panties with my phone and put them back in their original position. We chatted aimlessly and watched a movie. I was so tired that I fell asleep on the sofa. The daily alarm clock rang, waking me up. It was almost 2 o'clock, so I prepared to run home. It felt weird to stay too long. While I was sleeping, she covered me with a thin blanket. She was so thoughtful. She was also sleeping on the hammock. I went over and covered her with a blanket. She looked so adorable sleeping. I closed the door, gently drove home, and wished she was my wife. My feelings for her also gradually increased. Sometimes on weekends, I often went to her house to play or eat. Sometimes with little Sophia, sometimes just me and her. She was also happy about that, because there were only 2 of us at home, so there was less noise. She considered me as her younger sister and was more comfortable and natural with me, and I was successful in contacting and being close to her. I hope God can give me greater opportunities. Just a little bit, I just live with that hope. Just being friends with her makes me satisfied. My life just passed by peacefully in a light feeling, going to work every day, going online to chat with her at night, and going back to my parents' house in the countryside on the weekends to find a chance to meet the person I've always longed for. Today is a rainy weekend. I lie down under a thin blanket in my room, not wanting to get up. It's almost noon, but I still just want to sleep. And what else can I do in this boring place when I wake up? While I was dozing off, the phone rang, making me a little annoyed, but the feeling of annoyance completely disappeared when I saw that it was her phone number. She must have invited me over for dinner. Yes, I'm listening. "Hello, are you free to help me with something?" "Yes, I'm free, of course. Even if I'm busy, I have to say I'm free. It's been a long time since I've had the chance to ask for your help. Let me take you to the wedding. Your car broke down or something. Okay, I'll be there in 10 minutes. Yes, thank you. Luckily you helped me, otherwise I wouldn't know who to ask, and none of my friends would be on the way. I jumped out of bed as if I had never been sleepy, changed my clothes, got in the car, and sped to my beloved home. Sure enough, after exactly 10 minutes, I entered the house and saw her in the middle of cleaning the floor. She said, "You sit and wait for me for a bit. I'll finish cleaning and change clothes and go. The wedding is at 11 o'clock. Yes, I said, and climbed onto the sofa to let her clean the floor, sitting there holding the newspaper to read for fun. But before I could read it, my eyes were once again attracted to her. She was crawling on the floor to clean again, once again admiring her vague but very attractive body. She was still absorbed in cleaning the floor without knowing that I was glancing behind her. I took out my phone and secretly took a few pictures, took 5 pictures, then put the phone away and continued to secretly look at her. After cleaning, she went into the bathroom to shower and change clothes. She urged me to go because I was afraid of being late, so I waited for her behind. I could feel the fragrance coming from her body. The scent was so strong and seductive. The wedding venue was also quite far from her house, about 5 kilometers, so I couldn't ask anyone for a ride. Thanks. Can I come pick you up when you get back? Anytime, I replied happily. She walked quickly into the wedding. I went back home, ate a quick lunch, and climbed into bed to continue sleeping. In my dream, I was hugging her, but unfortunately the dream only ended there because I was woken up by the noises outside, so frustrating. I quickly fell asleep to continue my dream, but I couldn't sleep anymore, regretfully sat up and took out my phone to look at her in the secret photo I took earlier. It was strange. It was almost 6 p.m. and she hadn't called me back yet, so she must have gone to a gym with her friends, so I let it be. I got up and did some push-ups to tone up my body, then took a shower, thinking I'd probably go to a coffee shop alone tonight. As I was about to go out, I heard her call. "Kwan, come to Jack's karaoke bar to pick me up. It's near the wedding." "Yes, I'll be there right away." He drove away feeling happy. When I got there, I saw that she looked a bit dizzy. Her friends probably forced her to drink because normally I knew she didn't like to drink beer. Today was fun, so I drank too much. My head hurts. "Let me take you home and rest. You'll be fine." After taking her home, my left hand occasionally reached down to support her back, afraid that she would fall asleep and fall. She also gently hugged my waist. The feeling of euphoria was hard to describe, a feeling that I had experienced for the first time in my life. I opened the door and helped her to bed, made her hot lemon water and told her to go to sleep. At this point, she was so tired that she lay motionless. The smell of beer was strong. Looking at her lying there in her black dress, the curves running down her body, I sat next to her, caressed her pretty face, and placed a kiss on her cheek. She was so drunk that she didn't know anything and lay still. I took advantage of that rare opportunity to slide my hand down her body to her feet, gently caressing her long white legs. My little brother seemed to want to protest. I then gently lifted her skirt up higher and higher because the skirt she was wearing was short, so if I just pulled it up a handspan, I would reveal everything. Suddenly she moved slightly and lay on her stomach. The blood vessels in my body froze. That was it. But she was still breathing evenly. Thank goodness. I continued to lift her skirt up, higher and higher. At this time, everything of her was completely revealed. I put my hand on that place of hers. It was so soft, so cool. I pinched it lightly and then gently pulled down her panties. At this moment, I understood how a thief felt, and as I pulled it down, my heart felt like it was about to jump out of my chest. Sweat was dripping down my forehead. When the panties were almost pulled down, I used my index finger to gently stroke them up and down. The feeling was wonderful. The perfect beauty I had always dreamed of was right in front of me. Suddenly I saw her body seem to move, so I quickly pulled up her panties and then pulled down her skirt. At this moment she opened her eyes and looked at me. I was stunned by her gaze. Or did she already know? A feeling of guilt filled the space. "I'm so thirsty." "Yes, let me get you some water to drink." I hurriedly got the water, but my heart felt like a 1,000-pound burden had been lifted. Perhaps she didn't know. She sat up, drank a glass of water and said, "Thank you. I'll go home or I'll sleep tonight. I'm so tired." Then closed the door carefully. "I'll go home." I drove the bike home with an endless joy in my heart, an evening filled with unexpected happiness. It was a pity that I hadn't done anything yet, so I hoped for better luck next time. I shouldn't be too greedy. When I got home, I took a shower, had dinner, and fell asleep with beautiful dreams. When I woke up, I couldn't remember what I had dreamed. In my pants, I was sipping, thinking about her. I picked up the phone to call her, to invite her to have breakfast and drink coffee, both to meet her and to ask if she remembered what happened last night. She and I went to a coffee shop near her house to drink and talked animatedly. I felt relieved when I knew for sure that she didn't know anything about what happened last night. My eyes widened and I looked at her intently, still regretting that I hadn't done anything yet, which made me extremely curious because I hadn't fully explored that beautiful, sexy body. If there was a next time, I would definitely do it. Thinking about these random things made my little brother under my pants move again, slightly rising up, startling me because I was sitting in front of her. If she saw it, I would be embarrassed. But it wouldn't leave me alone. It still protested despite my will to suppress it. Perhaps the fact that she was sitting in front of me made me excited, so my will was controlled by my emotions. So I had to focus on chatting nonsense to forget those images. The coffee session ended. She had to go home to do some work. I had to get in the car and drive home. Time seemed to stand still as her image and smile kept appearing. I drove, but my heart felt aimless, not interested in anything but her. Monday morning was so refreshing and comfortable. Buying a cup of coffee at the company, taking a few puffs felt so comfortable. I still calmly enjoyed this pleasant feeling. For me now, everything was so gentle and quiet. But my fate is so miserable, nothing is easy and quick. While enjoying a delicious cup of coffee with a magical smoke, I thought of her again and sighed. How could I conquer that married woman? How could I charm that graceful and gentle body? A big question in the world. Oh, work is the only thing that helps me forget the chaos in my head. On weekends, I go back to my hometown with many thoughts about her, sitting and drinking coffee, thinking about nothing, not knowing what to do to kill time. Probably just going to her house to visit, not knowing what she is doing at this hour. I pay for the coffee and run to her house. Today I go in and out of her house naturally and comfortably, seeing her sitting on the chair with a pale face. "Miss, what are you doing?" I tease. "Is that Quan?" she answers with a slightly broken voice. "What's wrong with you today? Your voice sounds strange," I ask her, a little worried. "I don't know, maybe you're sick and tired." After hearing that, I frantically drove to buy some cold medicine and a bottle of essential oil at the speed of light, and ran in, out of breath, to see her lying on the bed with a pale face. "Let me make some wind for you," I say. "Do you know how to do it?" she asks. "You know, lie down straight, and I'll knead the wind for you to finish, and you'll be fine in a bit," I said. I approached her and kneaded her forehead and cut Jack for her. Then I applied oil to her forehead and neck. It was the first time my hand had touched her properly. While stroking the oil around her neck, I was a little stunned because I saw her cleavage, and at the closest distance, my heart was beating faster. But seeing her frowning like this, I couldn't get excited. I loved her so much that I was very worried about her health. When I finished, I let her lie down, ran to buy some green beans to cook porridge for her to eat, even though I had never rolled up my sleeves to cook anything before. I did it with all my enthusiasm. I helped her sit up and fed her porridge spoon by spoon, like a husband taking care of his little wife. She ate half a bowl and couldn't eat any more. I didn't force her. I got her water to drink and let her lie down to sleep, took a chair and sat down next to her, looking at her sadly. She was in pain and her complexion was not good, but she still looked radiantly beautiful without being dazzling. Sitting like that for a long time was tiring, so I leaned my head against the bed and fell asleep without realizing it. While I was sleeping, I heard someone calling, "Kwan, wake up. Your neck is sore from sleeping like that. Go lie down on the chair to be more comfortable." I was startled. She felt a little better. "Luckily you came by, thank you very much." "Yes, if you're tired, tell me." "It's late, so I'll feed you porridge and then go home. You ate too little earlier and you'll be hungry again." "Yes, thank you." She was still in pain. Her bones and joints were aching. She was so tired. I reheated the pot of porridge and fed her. Her eyes showed gratitude. I was happy to see that look, a look of trust. After eating, I let her sleep, then closed the door and went home, feeling strangely happy. The next day, while I was sleeping, I received a text from her saying I would come over for lunch to make up for helping her cook porridge yesterday. I quickly got up, brushed my teeth, washed my face, and rushed over. It was still early, almost 9 o'clock. When I got to her house, I opened the door and went inside naturally. When I got inside, I saw her sitting on the bed folding clothes. "Hey, I'm hungry," I teased. "I'm hungry, don't care," she teased back. "If I want to live, I'll cook you dinner right now." "You're so cool today. Why don't you cook?" I walked up behind her, poked my hand into her ribs. She arched her back because she couldn't take it anymore. My hands still clung to her hips and wouldn't let go. She rolled off the bed and struggled to get away from me but couldn't. "Why don't you cook?" "If not, the consequences will be unpredictable. If you don't die, you can't be so stubborn." I pulled her onto the bed, turned her over, sat on her and tickled her. Taking advantage of this opportunity, I pressed that thing down on her stomach, letting her struggle. The more she struggled, the happier I became. This feeling was like doing it to her from behind, indescribably ecstatic. "Okay, I give up. I'll cook for you, right?" I was in the middle of the climax but had to stop. I felt so sorry that I had to sit still and not tickle anymore. She was panting from exhaustion, and I was also tired, so I just sat there. Maybe she felt something hard pressing against her body, so she quickly pushed me away. I was also shy because I was afraid she would know, so I sat still. She went to the market to buy food. "I'll watch the house for you for a bit." "Yes." After cleaning up her things, she got on her motorbike and drove to the market. Feeling bored, she jumped on her computer to read the news for fun. As soon as she sat down, she saw that her Zalo had not been logged out yet. Curiously, she sat down and read her 6 messages. There was nothing but her chatting with her friends. Suddenly, a chat box appeared, making me stunned, not daring to believe my eyes. It was her chat box with her husband, the content of which made me dizzy and excited beyond words. "Honey, I miss you so much. I want to go home, but the construction site doesn't allow it. Please try to go. I miss you so much. It's been a long time since you've been home. I miss you too. I want to do it with you right away. I miss you every night. I miss the feeling of your caress. Come back to me soon, or I won't be able to bear it. I'll be back soon. Wait for me." "Yes, I'll wait." So I guessed right. More than a month of not being able to do anything is not something that can be endured at her age. What should I do? It is really difficult to conquer that virtuous body. However, I'm even more determined to have her. This needs a meticulous plan to succeed. Taking advantage of the fact that she wasn't home, I went into her bedroom to look for clothes. The drawer opened and was full of colourful panties. I stole the red panties and stuffed them into my pocket. I would keep them as a souvenir. I took a picture of the colourful panties with my phone and left just as she came home. I lay back on the bed and pretended to watch TV. After eating, I rolled over and fell asleep on her bed. I was sleeping when I suddenly woke up, saw her lying next to me with her back to me. She was holding her phone, reading the newspaper, but not sleeping. This idea popped into my head. I stretched out my arms to hug her while still pretending to sleep. She was a little startled and turned her head to look at me. Seeing that I was still lying still with my eyes closed, she did nothing. I gently hugged her body. The warmth of both of us spread throughout the room. The scent from her body spread to me. This feeling was so comfortable and peaceful. Thinking that I was in deep sleep, she did not move for fear of waking me up. Her wasp back pressed against my chest. The dream came gently. Ladies and gentlemen, the surprising and interesting details will continue in the next parts of the story. Please stay tuned for the next videos. Now Jane would like to say goodbye and see you again in the next video.